What's up guys, it's SoloRenekton Only and I'm back on Jeremy's channel with another video. Jeremy was nice enough to ask me back to bring you guys the best 10 champions for patch 6.10. A little about me for those who don't know who I am. I am SoloRenekton Only, I peaked at Masters, I am a top lane and jungle main. I have my own YouTube channel where I post daily commentaries along with patch tier list, quick tips, and minion wave management guides. So let's get into it. Coming in at number 10 is Janna. Janna has it all right now. She's a strong lane support with her shield preventing damage while also increasing AD carry damage output, allowing for constant winning trades. Janna offers plenty of CC, peel, and even helps speed up mobile AD carries with her passive. During lane, Janna can poke out melee supports with ease by simply shielding herself for the increased damage before auto-attacking. Janna's only weakness in lane is against extreme aggression, but worst case scenario, you just play passive with your ADC and end lane down 10 to 15 CS and move on to the mid game. In mid-game and late-game teamfights, Janna is amazing. There are not too many champions in the game that have large-scale disengage abilities. When timed correctly, Janna's ultimate can knock away enemy divers and heal your team back up, leading to an easy teamfight victory. Janna's Q during teamfights is often overlooked, but a fully channeled Q hitting a couple people in a teamfight is absolutely massive. Janna's job during a teamfight is to peel for her most important carry and disrupt the enemy's engage with Q and R. Janna will be the only support to make this list, and if you are looking for more supports to play, I would suggest Alistar if you want to be tanky and be an engaged tool for your team, or if you just want another range support, you should try out Soraka. And coming in at the number 9 spot is Graves Jungle. Ever since his rework, Graves has been an absolute monster. Graves has seen a number of nerfs, and went from being played in every role except support, to mainly being played in jungle with a little bit of action in the top lane and ADC role. Graves' kit fits perfectly in the jungle. His buckshot allows him to kite jungle camps so he can stay high HP, allowing him to gank or invade with nearly full health. This is something most junglers won't be able to match. The jungle itself is full of tight corners and walls, allowing Graves to constantly proc the second part of his Q quickly for that extra burst of damage. Graves' early game damage is insane, making his ganks and jungle invades extremely powerful. When ganking with Graves, it's best to look for pushed up waves where you can come from behind since Graves' dash is short range, or you can try looking for lanes that have some sort of CC where your team can buy you some time to run up close and get all of your damage off. Graves' core item is Skirmisher's Saber. This allows Graves a lot more dueling potential by reducing the incoming enemy damage by 20% for a few seconds. In the mid game, Graves' jungle should be using his early advantage to continue pressuring objectives and looking for fights in narrow chokes like the paths into Dragon and Baron. During teamfights, Graves often hits front line and kites back with his team until he sees an opening. If the enemy AD carry or AP carry get too close to Graves, just dash or flash in, auto Q R, and you will insta-kill them. Having survived all the nerfs, I feel like Graves has found his place as a powerful early game jungler with strong scaling. Coming in at number 8 is Ezreal. Blue build Ezreal has been getting a ton of play recently because he is a very self-reliant ADC and doesn't need constant peels in teamfights to do his job. Ezreal doesn't have the strongest lane phase, but you are just getting tier anyways, so your goal is just to stack it up and look for your mid-game 2-item power spike with Mirror Mana and your Iceborne Gauntlets. With the recent QSS nerfs, it's more important than ever for your ADC to be mobile and fend off people for themselves, and Ezreal's absolutely perfect for this. During the mid-game, Ezreal looks to poke out the enemy with Q before any objective fight. Ezreal is also a great sieger with Q poke and E to shift away from any incoming skill shots. Ezreal really wants long, drawn-out, spread-out teamfights where he can pick people off without having to deal with all 5 people at once. The longer the teamfight goes, the better it favors Ezreal, so oftentimes it's best to kite back with your Ezreal to draw out the length of the teamfight. Ezreal can sit back and poke, and when he finally sees the opening, he can switch gears and arcane shift in for some bloodthirsty kills. There are no nerfs coming on the PvE for Ezreal right now, so I foresee him being around for a while, as he is a very safe AD carry choice. Coming in at the number 7 spot is Ryze. Ryze has been extremely strong ever since his rework and a slight buff to his Q. Since then, Riot has nerfed Ryze a few times, and they're even talking about reworking him in the future now. This is all because Ryze kit is super strong, and even with limited spells affected by his passive now, Ryze still unloads insane amounts of damage in a short period of time. Ryze's true weakness is the very early parts of lane phase, where he just has his tier and he's very vulnerable to jungle ganks early. Ryze does really well against melees in lane by going E first for huge amounts of poke damage. Auto attacks plus E bully any melee, while range farming until later levels works best against range. As you scale up and get your stacking items, Roa and Tier, you enter the mid game where you can start bullying everyone. Late game, Ryze blows up anyone including tanks as long as you continue to rotate Q and then another spell to maximize Ryze's damage during passive. It should be interesting to see what Riot does with Ryze in the coming patches. Usually when they want to rework something, they nerf it into the ground so that play rate drops, and then they don't have to worry about buffing and nerfing it while they make other changes and they can focus fully on the rework. And the 6th spot on the list goes to Zed. The QSS changes where it no longer removes Zed ultimate was a massive indirect buff for Zed, who was already in a really good spot anyways last patch. Zed is now skyrocketed in ban rate, rarely if ever makes it into the game, still not quite hitting old school 90% ban Kassadin levels yet though. Zed's lane phase is strong, and even in hard matchups, Zed can just clear minions with Q and use spells to poke out the enemy. After level 6, Zed is looking for all-ins to start snowballing off of. Zed's roams are very powerful post level 6, allowing for easy tower dives in bot lane or top lane. If Zed played early game decently, he should be in an amazing position for the mid game to start split pushing. If Zed is ahead, there are not too many champions in the game that can 1v1 him, allowing for him to split push and force multiple people to come stop him. Zed should be able to escape or trade easily as his team takes objectives on the other side of the map. Team fighting with Zed in the mid game is pretty straightforward because there's no QSS to worry about and most Zhonya's have not finished yet. Zed should always be trying to take out the highest value enemy target and become a massive anti-carry and split pushing threat. Super late game, as the enemy starts to get tankier and have more ways of dealing with Zed, he needs to stay outside of team fights or continue to split push and fight 1v1. Zed has a few slight nerfs coming on the next patch, so he should stop getting banned every single game, but I still think he's going to be extremely strong. The 5th spot goes to Lucien. Everybody can't seem to get enough of Lucien right now. His play rate has been insanely high, and most AD carry mains say that Lucien is the only AD carry that feels balanced in the meta, and that all other AD carries should be brought up to his level. I don't fully agree with all of that, but no one can argue that Lucien is by far the best AD carry right now. Lucien has 2 viable builds, but most people have been gravitating toward the Korean build, which focuses around Black Cleaver, Ghost Blade, and gives tons of damage, cooldown reduction, flat armor pen, percent penetration, and even extra movement speed when attacking. When Lucien caps CDR, his spells have super low cooldowns, and when combined with his passive, Lucien Dash has next to no cooldowns during fights. Having dash up constantly allows Lucien to be very self-reliant and move around team fights, avoiding enemies and dashing in to finish people off when the opportunity presents itself. The ADC meta is moving more towards self-reliant ADCs as the role's value overall drops and focus and attention is put more towards the other roles. So ADCs who can fend for themselves like Ezreal and Lucien will remain very popular in this tank meta. And the number 4 spot goes to Azir, who is in my opinion the best mid laner right now. Like many of the top champions in their role, Azir does it all. Azir has strong lane matchups and great wave clear. Azir also has crazy pushing power and takes towers extremely quickly with the use of his W. Azir is also a teamfight monster, dealing tons of damage from very far away until he finally decides to go ham for the insect play, ulting the enemies back into his team for the easy cleanup. Azir has so many options available to him, and in the hands of someone who has truly mastered him, it's incredible to watch or infuriating to play against. Azir's only weakness are people who can outrange him like Xerath and Varus, but these types of champions are very immobile and allow for easy ganks with Azir just dashing in and knocking them back toward his jungler for the easy finish. During mid and late game, Azir has scaled up and has become an absolute monster in terms of damage output. Azir shines in sieges and objective dances because it allows him to get a lot of poke off before a team fight. If Azir manages to chunk anyone out, it often signals the start of a team fight or allows your team to take the objective for free as the enemy backs away to heal. Placing your tower behind your team as they push prevents the enemy from engaging and gives your team a safe spot when you're overextended on the map. Azir's kit and how his abilities can be used together is what makes him strong, so I expect to see Azir mid for a while to come, although he does have some nerfs on the PvE right now. Blazing his way into the number 3 spot is Maokai. Maokai is your classic tank, and since we are in the tank meta, he is doing his job very well right now. Say farewell to the old Roa build and hello to the full tank unkillable Maokai. Maokai has seen a huge spike in play ever since he got MR per level, something that he's been lacking for far too long. Now Maokai can deal with everyone in lane, and even hard matchups he can just sit back and farm with E and Q. Grasp the Undying plus Maokai passive, comboed with full tank and Maokai's ultimate damage reduction, means the tree is going to live for a long time. During lane, Maokai can bully most melees and sustain most harass with his passive and Grasp the Undying plus potions. Maokai is one of the best lanes to gank for in the game. He provides 2 hard CCs and a slow, and his early game base damages are nothing to be laughed at. Maokai has so much CC, it doesn't even matter if the enemy has wards in lane, since Maokai can just lock them down forever while his jungler strolls in to help secure the kill. This CC also makes Maokai an amazing teleport champion. Maokai is perfect for teleporting bot lane to lock up enemies for your team to finish, or teleporting to flank engage the enemy late game. During mid and late game, your goal is to be the beefy frontline for your team, and constantly peel the enemy frontliners away. If you are fed or you have other divers, however, you should dive the enemy backline instead and use your presence to zone the enemy damage dealers away, while your team focuses the enemy frontline before joining up with you. Maokai doesn't have any nerfs heading his way on the PvE, so he should be a staple of top lane for the foreseeable future. And the second spot on the list goes to Kindred. Kindred has been one of the top junglers for a while now, and it's pretty obvious why. Her early game pressure is insane, and she scales super hard into late game, and she always is useful in team fights with her ultimate and high damages. Kindred is similar to Graves as she can clear the jungle while maintaining high health due to kiting and her kit's built-in sustain. Once Kindred clears the jungle and has red buff, she's a ganking god. When Kindred gets red buff on you, there's absolutely no escaping. She has constant slows, multiple gap closers when using Q with W already on the ground. Kindred also snowballs extremely hard with the mark system, allowing her to get huge amounts of percent health damage, further increasing her late game power. Riot also indirectly buffed Kindred last patch when they buffed Blood Razor, giving Kindred more percent health with each hit. Kindred can counter jungle very easily and win every fight when she gets the opening. Invading the enemy jungle and getting deep wards is really important on Kindred because it allows for future invades for kills and mark stacks to be much more likely to succeed. During mid and late game, you team fight similar to AD carries. You skirt the outsides of the team fight, but don't hesitate to go ham if you think you can get a kill, and then drop your ult, preventing your own death, allowing your team to follow up and clean up the rest of the fight. Kindred's ultimate can be game changing, so just make sure to use it at the right time and don't save enemies too often. Kindred gets a ton of attack speed in her normal build, so she is a really powerful tower taker, but she truly shines taking Baron and Dragon with her high percent health damages. Kindred is seeing some nerfs on the PvE, but her kit is so strong it's hard to see her falling off too far. And the best champion on patch 6.10 is Ekko. Even after seeing some nerfs, Ekko is still an absolute monster, and it's not just in top lane. If he's left unbanned, he gets played in mid lane and even some in jungle. Ekko just has everything you could want from a top laner. He has great lane matchups, he gets super tanky, has engage, has disengage, has AoE CC, has wave clear with Q, and even his ultimate to get him out of even the sketchiest of situations. Tank meta is still alive and kicking, and Ekko is by far the best tank out there. During lane, he constantly pressures his enemy, and nearly always has wave control because of the speed his Q pushes and the zone it creates when he throws it. Ekko can constantly pressure the enemy top laner under tower and force multiple people to come stop him, only to escape due to his insane mobility. On top of all this utility, Ekko's damage is nothing to be laughed at either. His base damages are all good, and when you add in cooldown reduction, his damage starts to skyrocket. This cooldown reduction, combined with the movement speed from Ekko's passive 3-hit proc, means no one is getting away from Ekko, letting him peck away until the enemy is dead. During mid-game, Ekko looks to split push when teleport is up. After Sunfire and Iceborne Gauntlets, towers are no longer an issue when splitting, so you can easily dive the enemy under tower and secure the kill 1v1. If the enemy can match you with wave clear and not die, just look to teamfight where you can flank from Fog of War with a nice W to stun, or at least disrupt and split up teamfights. Immediately dive past tanks and focus enemy carries with EQ passive proc, then orb walk past them. If you are ever in threat, just pop your ultimate and use your E to dash out. There are more nerfs coming to Ekko on the PvE right now, so we will have to wait and see if this is finally enough to remove him from the top spot he has held for so many patches now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it and a dislike if you didn't. I look forward to hearing who is on your best 10 champion list. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!